is absolutely integral to remedial classes, and it is a very basic skill, basic learner skill. And recently I uploaded one short video on imitation skill, and after that there were a lot of queries asking about more details about imitation skill, so I thought of making this detailed video on the same. And hi, this is Sutapa Bose, special educator and parent, and welcome back to my channel Sutapa's Alpha Kids. And if you are seeing me for the first time, please do subscribe to my channel. Now coming back to the video, here I am going to discuss about what is imitation, what are the prerequisites of imitation, teaching imitation, what are the major classifications under imitation, what are the methods, what are the steps we should follow to teach imitation skill to a student, and of course the benefits and uses of teaching imitation skill. Now what is imitation? Imitation is basically copying in simple language. And what are the prerequisites of imitation? The prerequisites are good in-seat behavior and good eye contact. If the child is not able to sit for a while in his seat, or if the child is not being able to look into the eyes of the teacher for a while, then there is no point teaching imitation to the child. So these two are prerequisites. Now what are the major classifications of imitation? The major classifications can be said to be object imitation, vocal imitation, and motor imitation. Object imitation is, as you can see from the say from the name, the two objects, one the teacher will hold, one the child will hold, and the child will copy the whatever action is being done with the object. Then is a vocal imitation, not necessarily in this order. Then the vocal imitation is whatever the teacher is vocally saying, the child will imitate. Like teacher is saying ah, or the mother is saying ah, the child will say ah, or E, the child will say E, things like that. Then comes the motor imitation. Motor imitation has two subtypes. One is fine motor and gross motor. Fine motor is those actions done with fingers, and gross motor is those done with involving the other body parts like arms up or things like that. So these are the major broad classifications. Now then comes the steps. Now why we should follow steps or methods? Now kids with neurodiversity, especially those affected with autism, they find it very difficult to imitate naturally. Imitation is a taught skill for them. They cannot naturally learn to imitate from the environment, or naturally learn to copy from the adults who are in and around their life. So we need to follow a few methods so that the skill that is imparted is well imparted, and the learning is also good. Now the first step that we should follow before teaching imitation is the level of the eyes. The teacher and the child, the teacher or the mother or the facilitator, whoever is teaching, and the child's eye should come in the same level. The child should not struggle too much to look into your eyes, otherwise he or she will lose interest. Next comes the object imitation. Now this is also my personal view, that kids, especially those kids with neurodiversity, especially those with autism, they tend to establish a relationship with object faster and better than they do with the human beings. So it is easier to start with object imitation in our imitation classes, because they pick up very fast. Then comes prompts. Now why I am saying about prompts? If the child, don't stress the child too much. If the child is struggling too much to learn imitation, we can always start with prompts and make him stress free and learn easily and nicely. And prompts can be, like, prompts can be gestural, prompts can be verbal, prompts can be physical, and never mind if the child is taking multiple prompts, like both verbal and physical, or all the three prompts. And as soon as you introduce a prompt, you also have to plan how to fade it out, otherwise the child might get dependent on the prompt. Then comes the fourth is reinforcers. Always introduce reinforcer if the child is not being able to, even after giving prompts or starting with object imitation, if the child is not being able to imitate, able to learn imitation, or if the child is not being able to memorize imitation, introduce reinforcers. And reinforcers can be edible, reinforcer can be a toy, reinforcer can be a verbal praise, reinforcer can be a hug, reinforcer can be a clap, anything but what the child likes. That you need to find out by observing the child, or assessing the child, or taking feedback from the mother or any other caregiver of the child. That you need to find out. Again, same goes for the reinforcer like that of the prompts. Reinforcer should also be faded out as soon as the child achieves target. And reinforcer, child should not be too dependent on reinforcer, or child should not be too dependent on prompts. So these are the steps. Now the fifth important step is step of teaching imitation is practice. We always should accommodate a lot of practice scope to the child who is learning imitation. Lot of drilling is required for them to learn the skill properly and to internalize it. So lot of practice is required. Last but not the least is generalization. If you don't teach generalization, any skill for that matter, not just imitation skill, generalization is very important. If you don't teach generalization, the child will be very robotic. Child will not be able to practically apply the skill already achieved. The child will away from the tabletop, the child will not be able to perform it. I have a whole video on generalization which you can check in my playlist of Sutapa's Alpha Kids. Generalization is, I'll tell you in short, is making the child able to perform the achieved task with other people, in other environment, with other stimulus. So that is all in short about generalization. So these are the basic steps we should follow before teaching imitation skill. And next come the benefits and uses. Benefits is number one would be it enhances the cognition in the child. Number two, it increases the compliance in the child. Number three, the imitation skill brings about improvement in all the basic learning skill, like sitting in the behavior, like the eye contact, eye-hand coordination, cooperation with the adults. So all this comes with imitation skill. So yeah, that's about it. With that it's a wrap. And do give me your feedback, and keep following me for more such topics on special education. Thank you so much.